I'm going to tell you a story about a group of children that go on a space adventure. Now, what it happens is they were entered into a contest where they can actually go on a trip into space. You know, you look at the stars at night where all the planets are, that's space. You ever look up to the sky and see the moon? Well, that's kind of like what it's like when people go up into space. So today we're going to talk about a wild adventure where children go into space to a distant world to find a new life there and adventure. This will be very short, probably a couple minutes. So anyway, they all went up and they all applied eagerly to go to this event because they saw this contest. It was on the internet. Their parents were in it. They had to be enrolled so that they could all have a chance of having a chance to enter into this contest. So a few families were chosen, out of that family. And they were chosen to go because they all gave money each to go. So as they were chosen to go, they all went to a planet called Mars. And that planet is really right next to us. If you look at the planets in the solar system, if you ever look in a science book or a book that you got at home that maybe your brother might have, or maybe a family member's got, or your parents might have it, the planet's like the third or fourth planet from Earth. The fourth planet from the sun is Mars. So that's where they went. They went there, they set up a colony. They had to live under a sphere, which was an artificial climate enclosure that had plants and had all kinds of vegetation.
Big roof.
Yeah, and it was like all indoors because the oxygen on Mars, you couldn't breathe in like you can breathe here. You had to be like in an enclosed structure because if you were out there, the oxygen was so low that you could faint or die. So, they had to put you in like one of those kind of tents, see? And that way all your food would be in one chamber, and then all your facilities for exercising would be in another. And then all the games and activities and all their stuffed animals and all their video games and all those other things they had up there would be in another room. And they called it the Great Sphere, and it's where everybody lived. And that's where oxygen would be pumped in, and all their needs basically would be met like they're met here on Earth. But you don't have to live in a sphere, you live in a house. But, when you're at home, but you can breathe the air here, but unlike there, the oxygen is so thin, they have to be in that kind of environment. So anyway, they're all up there, and first thing they had to do when they got there, they were all excited. They all jumped out there eagerly. Ashley and her family, they all came out of there with great excitement and anticipation, and came out of there and went right there on the planet, and they started to set up the sphere. They had to use space suits, everybody had to be in astronaut suits. So they kind of had a helmet over their head, and they had a backpack. They had to keep warm and have oxygen. And as they built the sphere, eventually it was built and erected about a year later, and they were able to live in it. So in the meantime, what they would do is stay on the space shuttle or spaceship that they had. But then when it got built, then they were able to live there because they had the facilities where they could grow things and manufacture things and build their own, pretty much ecosystem. So they live in this thing. They had bowling alleys, they had swimming pools, they had everything you would have here on Earth, but it's in this huge dome. And so, they would go there, have fun. They would even do farming, grow vegetables and have their own fruit. Because remember, they were on Mars, so they had to invent this artificial-like temperate of a climate, so that, they could do this. And so that's exactly what they've done, folks. And by that doing this, they grew their plants, they ate food that were organic, fruits and vegetables, and it was just amazing. And then they played games. The children would play hide and go seek among the corn stalks, and then the parents would go out and find them, and they'd run around and hide behind other things inside the sphere, and they had a wonderful time. They had dogs and cats there. They had some animals there, some flying birds. They flew around in the dome, where the farm was. And they had all kinds of different things that were there. And it was just so exciting that people could live there and work and even grow vegetation and even have basically their lively needs met like they are here on Earth, their daily needs met. And they had church there, and they had a wonderful time. So everybody came together, and it's all because it all started by an entry. So that's my short story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Come and see us next week for Short Stories by Mikel DeSilvis. See you next week, and I'll see you on YouTube. Thanks a lot.